9, that's it.
That's it. So we said some very important things yesterday. We didn't get to the end of the daf though, as I hoped. So let's close the door before we start. Oh, thank you very much. I'll check it out. Cool. Yeah, so we left a little tiny bit over on the daf. So yes, it didn't play out. I thought it would play, but Siyat has some good artists. That was good. In any case, we're holding the end of the Vav on the base. We said the base is a house without honey. Say eating his bread, salt, coat on his head. Say Kriyishma. Of Gimel is the 3 camels in the ruin. The first carrying the lion and the dove. The second carrying El Navi. And the third carrying David Melech. Dav Daled was the door expanding from Geula to the Kotel with David Melech on top of it in his chassid get-up, and Hay was the haystack with Rabbi Yochanan trying to say Kriya Shema Levita and suffering terribly as he taught. So up to Daf Vav, and we're going to finish Bez Hashem in a few moments, and then we'll get a simon for Daf Vav. So now, turn the recording on. We should start that. I think now's a good time to start the video.
Daf Vav 6, you said.
Yeah, we'll see. You'll see it.
Okay.
Here, we're at the very end of Daf Vav on the base. There have been a series of members in the name of Rav Huna. Almost all of them of Rav Chelva Rav Huna, for a total of 6. The 6th one, the final one, number 6 is where we're up to. It's on the second to last line of Daf Vav on the base, line 49. And it says, V'amar, it says V'amar Rav Chelva Rav Huna, Kol sheyodea b'chavero. Anyone who knows that his friend, Shu Ragi Litan Lo Shalom, that the friend's habit is to say hello, to greet. We'll say you. I'll look at second person. Anyone, if you know that your friend is in the habit of Ragil, he's accustomed to greeting you, so then Yaktim Lo Shalom, you should then preempt him and say hello first. Or maybe it's Dafka Shalom is in the special power that the Shalom Alecha, peace unto you, Shalom being one of Hashem's names, it may well be, I don't mean to detract from that it's just not clear. It's not clear if he's giving you a bracha, you should bless him first, so to speak, or just something much more generic. People say good morning, so if you know they're going to say good morning, you should be the first to say good morning. Shanei Amar, as the pasuk says, Bakesh Shalom V'Rafehu, you should seek out peace and chase after it. So the chase after it, I believe the drasha is, I'm not 100% sure actually, but I believe the drasha is that not just anticipate looking for peace, which would be being Mavakeh Shalom, but also Rafehu, you should be a pursuer of peace, and here's Shalom as the greeting, so you should pursue the Shalom saying by say Shalom first. Rafehu means being proactive in the Shalom happening.
Why is it only about someone that you know, that is custom to send hello?
That's a good question. But anyway, here I guess the point here is that though. The point is that if you know they're going to say hello to you, you should be proactive. So why dafka that is an interesting question. I have an answer. Don't laugh at me. That's how I answer. I think it's a good question. The fact that I think it's a good question, I think it's such a good question that I thought about it and I didn't come up with a better answer. So I'll tell you what the answer that I think it is. But I'm not saying it tongue-in-cheek, I'm saying it seriously, but I'm not deeply committed to this answer, so don't laugh at me. This is what I think maybe, at least upshot in the Gemara, that the Gemara is giving you insight into how to deal with frustration, let's call it, because even if you're a friendly person, I'm a relatively friendly person, but there's always certain people that are Mr. Smiley, who are kind of annoying, and they're overly enthusiastic to say hello to you, and they're they're overly enthusiastic in their friendliness, and that can be a little frustrating. So the Gemara is saying to that guy, don't get frustrated. The guy's trying to be friendly. Although I to be friendly, you should go out of your way to go out of your way to chase after him and be friendly to him.
Overcome that. The opposite case here, we're talking about a guy that, in the case where a person doesn't say
shalom to you, it seems that you're not obligated to say shalom to him first.
Correct. This all the memory we said here, just the halacha here, or what's called a halacha, is that if you know the guy's going to say hello to you first, don't let it happen. You should say hello to him first. That's what we're storing here. The question of what about saying hello in general, or you often say hello to everybody, that's like a different topic or a different time. The din here is we're making a drasha. I don't know any reason why it's coming up other than it's another Rav Kalvo Amravuna story. And he said, because there's a pasuk that says you should be Bakei Shalom, you should seek out Shalom V'Rod Fehu, and you should like chase after it. So the fact that you shouldn't just be on the receiving end of the Shalom greeting, but you should actually be road that to chase after it means you should be proactive and send out the Shalom first. And then therefore the person who you know is going to say hello, you should preempt them. So the question would be like, again, so now repeat myself going in a circle, the question is like why only him? Why does it just say hello to people first? So that was my answer. You could take it or leave it. I don't have a better answer to the question of like why you're focused on only the guy who says hello to you first. Except again, my answer is that is a guy you incline most to avoid because like you just want to get on with your day. You bump into him, it's a 10-minute schmooze every time. That's the guy. You should don't avoid him and say hello to him. That's my answer. Again, it's like I don't mean it tongue in cheek, but I don't know I don't have a better answer. To the very good question of why only the person greets you, that's my answer. Okay, I don't have a better answer. Now, that guy who greets you and you ignore him, the person gives you greetings, and if you don't return his greeting, again, I'm inclined to think this is referring to the generic hello, good morning, not dafka the word shalom, though I could certainly hear people saying it's dafka shalom because of the significance of that, and the drush is based on the pasuk shalom, to be mevakesh shalom and be rodefit. But either way, if a guy gives you shalom, literally says shalom to you, or just figuratively, meaning he says good morning to you, and you ignore him, you don't respond to him, so then nikra gazlan, you, the person who fails to respond, you're like a robber. That's a little fun, like why a robber? So Shanemar, because the pasuk says, okay, this pasuk needs like a tiny bit of Bezra outside. It's a pasuk from Yeshaya. Let me say it outside first. Yeshaya is in the context of this over here. He's castigating the leadership, like the Sanhedrin or whatever, the leadership of the Jewish people, and he's saying you guys are going about it all wrong. You've alienated the people. You've upset them. You haven't taken care of people. You've sort of involved self-dealing, taking care of you and the insiders, and sort of at the expense of the simple Jew who's essentially being ignored and downtrodden and not taken care of properly. So then he says, so Hashem refers to the Jewish people collectively oftentimes as his vineyard. Like we invest in it to bring out the wine, I guess that's the metaphor. So Yeshaya, speaking on behalf of Hashem, is yelling at the leadership, and he says, "Vatem bi'artem hakerem," and you, in your self-serving behavior, have destroyed Hashem's vineyard. Like semicolon. You have to read it like in a new, period, let's call it period, so to speak. Not only that, it's a semicolon, but anyways, a new thought. Secondly, another thing you did is gazalta ani b'vatechem. Oh, sorry, I should say it's probably gazelas. Gazelas ani b'vatechem. That which you've robbed, that which you have robbed, it's a noun. That which you have robbed from the poor man is in your house. Like you're sitting on the poor man's robbed article. So you have to put that semicolon there, otherwise you'll get the point. One is like his first complaint is you're ruining Hashem's vineyard, the Jewish people, and second of all, you've stolen the poor man's stuff. So period, that's the end of the story, that's the end of the Gemara. So Rashi explains, like the drush is, what does it mean the poor man's stuff is stolen? Like if the complaint is you have stolen goods, so then it should be, who cares if rich or poor from whom you stole, they're still stolen goods. So then Rashi focuses here that we're talking about the kind of goods you only could steal from a poor man because he has nothing else. That's why we're focusing on the poor man's robbed item. Because the poor man actually has nothing. He's so poor he has nothing to rob. So what you take from him is his, this is Joel Padowitz speaking again, you're taking his dignity. You're taking the poor guy, all the guy had was to be a friendly person, and you've gone and stepped on that. So he said, that's the drush. The drush is, all he had was his self-esteem or his dignity, or he felt his contribution to society is that he can be a friendly person, and there he tried to be friendly. That's all he has to give, and you snubbed him and didn't reciprocate. So basically, you've like stolen even his. He doesn't feel good about himself in any way. He's not to be proud of himself, no dignity, no contribution to society. You've stolen that from the poor man. That's the drasha. That's the best I understand it. It's quite a hard read. So I'll read it to you again. I hope what I'm saying is right. I know it's like really hard read. Read the words, read the Rashi, and then if you have a different approach, you're more than welcome. Again, so here's the drasha. Here's the memory of the drasha. V'im nasa lo, if the man gives you greetings, v'lo hechzir, and you don't respond back to him, nikra gazlan, you fail to respond, are a robber. Shneimar, the pasuk says, v'atem bi'arta makerim. Yeshaya says, you have destroyed, consumed, everyone translate that, makerim, the vineyard, the gazela sa'ani b'vetechem, and the stolen object of the poor man is in your house. Rashi says, there's none up there. So Rashi says, last Rashi Nalmud, Gazela Sa'ani. So he says, V'alo, what's going on here? Af Gazela Sa'ashir Gazela He. There's no difference between the robbed item of the. If the person who was the victim of the robbery is rich or poor, makes no difference. That would be an equal claim that Yishai should be complaining against the leadership. You've got stolen goods. Who cares if the poor man stolen good? It tells you, Ela Gazela Sa'ani, we're talking about Dafka, the poor man, She'ein lo klum. He actually has nothing to steal. Leads the women that you could take it from him. Ela Shlo Laheshu Lo Shlomo. All you took from him was, my the word, dignity, in failing to return his greetings. It's a hard tomorrow. Left your own devices and like left, if I'd been your side of the table, I would be saying like, I don't get it. But since I'm on my side of the table and I'm forced to help you try to get it, I do the best I can.
It doesn't seem that hard.
Okay, fine. If you're happy, I'm happy. It's not doesn't, okay, I did my best. If you feel happy, then I feel that I did my job.
This would seem to be a good response to Borov's question before. Like if the person never says hello to you, that you're butter from saying anything is what he preferred. And that seems to be the case because if your expectation is not going to say, you don't want to make him a robber.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is.
Every guy you
I thought you were going a very
pass,
different direction.
I mean, this guy never says hello to you.
I thought you were right. Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were. I hear. I thought you were going to finish the thought in a different way, which I hear also, which is we're worried about the guy who has nothing else but to say hello, and that's the guy who you fail to respond to. So like he's now even his dignity is still okay. The whole thing is kind of strange because let me. Should I speak up why it's strange? Doesn't make you feel bad, yeah. It's strange because, like, why are you focused on this? The guy who's rugil to say to you first, like, what's the nature of Shalom? It seems like being nasan-lo, we're going to poor people, not the guys used to saying hello to you. The proof text is like a little weird. Like, the whole thing's like doesn't gel.
Can I just interject something here? I mean, it just popped into my head that we were talking before about getting to shul early.
Yes.
Okay. And here they're using the term early first, and I'm just wondering if it has anything to do with who gets to shul first, and then it talks about your house, and it's, Bate Midrashim, Bate Knesset. I just, it's the same person that's speaking, and I'm just wondering if there's a connection there.
Maybe. The theme of the daf, so when I say the theme of the daf, obviously it's going to take me to, and I'm using you as your comment, the segue into what I want to do, which is to recap the daf and move on, because I only give a theme. But the theme of the daf is, as you kind of picked up, that when I say the theme of the daf, just so I feel compelled to make a footnote. The daf, in terms of being this pagination, this particular starting thought in place, is essentially just mikra. I know that no one likes to hear the word mikra, but there's no. The printer just essentially started printing on the page, decided the page would be this big, you had to speed Rashi over here, Tos over here, and like this is just how it turned out. And it became standardized, what they call the Vilna printing, because it's useful to be able to reference, page 6b. But there's no magic here. It's not that Chazal decided this is a single cohesive piece of, above this cohesive, and it should be looked at as one sort of like coherent presentation. It's not like that. It just goes on and on and on. It happens to be what fit on the daf vav because of the
Same
layout.
guy, you know.
Who's the same guy?
What's his name?
Oh, Amr Khalid, much of Amr Khalid, yeah. But so now when I'm saying the theme of daf vav, don't think of it as the same as like the theme of, if I say Parshas Vayikra, like Chazal looked at that as a unit, and it's for a reason. Here it's like really just happens to fit on this page, unless nothing's an accident. But I'm not going to nothing's an accident.
But didn't they divide Parshas by Yikra just because they want to Parsha every week for the whole year?
I don't think so. That's a different topic at the time, but at least it's certainly take it. It's certainly many people understand the parshas. Well, the difference between a sidra and a parsha, if you want to be technical. So we're talking about a sidra. Like there's 54 sidra. This week is Vayikra, and then followed by Tzav. And a parsha technically is like these psukas and stumas, like little breaks in the Sefer Torah. That's Hashem had in mind. Those are Hashem's ordering of the, I think it's 675 in the whole Torah. That's Hashem's ordering of things, and that's not what I'm referring to. But I'm saying the sidra. So the most understand that there's a theme to Vayikra, and there's a reason why it's Vayikra, not Tzav, etc., etc. But that's a different topic for a different time. My point here is whether that is true or not true. I think Chazal understand it is like I don't know Chazal, it's later than Chazal, but the Meforshim that speak about the parsha take it as in the set units, and the Chazal wrote it there for a reason. So whatever that is, it's not happening in Davav. Davav is it's just total. What happened to fall out in Davav is coincidental as far as I'm concerned. Everything, like I said, Hashem has a plan for everything. But all my point was, when I'm saying the theme of Davav, I don't mean to suggest that Ravina and Ravashi got down and said, we have to put these ideas in one chapter, this is the chapter of that. No, it's not like that. But anyways, the theme in this part of our narrative through Masechtas Brachos, which is what we find in Davav, essentially is the theme of, if you ask me, is the theme of like the notion of Hashem being a particular place where Hashem is to be found. And therefore, the themes were Hashem is in the Makom Rina, and Hashem shows up for 1, 3, 5, 10. He wears tefillin, which are called bias. You have to run to greet, you have to be there first. Perhaps as Pshat in the Kal Pnei Shechina, that this idea of Makom Kavua, you should have a Makom Kavua. If you don't turn up one day, Hashem is waiting there and he comes back looking, what happened to this guy? What else do we have for the Lamed? Diving outside the shul is bad news. You have to face the shul, but that's where Hashem is found. Okay, so those are like the many things.
All those things have to do with what I was just saying.
Right. So that's because you said it. That's why that was a very convenient segue for me to then say perhaps indeed that's also going on here. Perhaps, but perhaps not, because perhaps it's hard to know. Maybe someone else, like much bigger than me, has a different view of the whole sugi here. But it's hard for I keep on trying to show you how it's stringing together contextually as the thing progresses. But remember what somehow started as there's a mitzvah to say Kriya Shema Lamita set aside from has just gone on and on and on and on and on, and we've perhaps just taken tangent to tangent, and perhaps all that strings us together is simply Amr Fellow Huna, and that's it. For all I know, or maybe not. Maybe this I can't. I cannot say. Maybe someone else will. But anyways, that's all I have to say on that piece. It is what it is. It's those two lines, and this is what we took from it. The bottom line of the love is clear. That if people should say hello to you, you should say hello to them first, and that's how it goes. So let's just do it quick, if you don't mind. I want to take a couple of minutes here to just recap. We spent a lot of time, about probably almost 10 days, something like that, on this daf. So a lot of things, like a dozen topics here. So just quickly review what we saw, and then I'm going to give you 7 minute class together. Not all of them, they're just too many things, but many of them. So on the top of the above, this is our 5-minute review of the daf here. On top of the above, we saw the third thing of Rabbi Yamin. It's on line 4. He had said other things before. Here he talks about Mazikin. Mazikin had been referenced a whole daf before as being chased away by saying Kriya Shema, learning Torah. So then we say what Mazikin are. We talked about they're all over the place. 1,000 on your left, 10,000 on your right. They surround us like the furrow around the vine. And if you could see them, you wouldn't be able to handle it. And here's tricks to see them around your bed, in your eyes, and so on. And someone even tried it. They did Rabbi, and he didn't do well for it. Okay, that was the first piece. Then we said that jumping down, on the next two after on line 22, let's call it. Binyamin has his fourth and final statement saying that the place where your tefillah is heard, for sure, is in the makom of arena, where people sing, which is the Beis Knesset. Therefore, we said, lahalacha, a person should prefer to daven in the Beis Knesset, even if he has no minyan there. It's better to get up and daven here, because Hashem is more receptive. And from there, we jumped on, leaving the Al Binyamin stories. We said, oh, you know where Hashem can be found? Where there are 10 people praying, where there are 3 people doing the Din Torah, where there are 2 people learning together, even 1 person learning by himself. Hashem is there. The Gemara asked, well, then, if you know 1 person by himself, by 2, we said, because Hashem writes it down, Sefer Chronot, we said, many unfortunately, that's somehow significant, it's memorable or in the mind of a person, maybe that's Hashem's memory. We said, what about 3? Because we talked about how you might have thought, the Gemara says that Din, sitting in Din is just Shalom Ba'alma, just making peace. We said, no, that's actually the Torah come to life, and that's actually heavy duty. And then, what's with 10? We said Hashem comes there first. And as our discussions came out, we decided that we asked the question of tefillah, and we resolved it by saying, based on previous Rashi and other halachos, we said that whenever a person prays by himself, Hashem is there, and this is just saying Hashem comes first, and there are 10 people coming to pray. Along the way, in that piece, by the way, we had my triple underline thing, that a person who has a machshava intending to do chishuv adam la'asos mitzvah, a person intends to do a mitzvah ne'enas, but he gets circumstances beyond his control make it that he can't. Lo asa, mala lo kasav ki'ilu asa. On my scorecard in heaven, this says Hashem, it's as if he did it. It's important, it's like a famous Gemara. Okay, fine. So that was that piece over there. Then another statement, because we got talking about that it was Amr Rav and Bar Adu who said the Minayin 10.321. So another statement by him, which was how do you know Hashem wears tefillin? And we discussed Hashem wears tefillin. What's in his tefillin? It's basically a shvat of the Jewish people, and other psukim. We resolved what else is in the 4 batim, and we had too many psukim. And we said, well, there are 6 psukim listed, but some of the same theme, and so we couldn't combine them together. That was the bottom of the top. Then, at the top of on the base, we had another Amr Ravin or Amr Ravin Baravada. If a person always comes to shul, and then one day doesn't show up, Hashem says, where did this guy go? And then it depends, Hashem looks, based on the pasuk, if he went to the Var Mitzvah, Hashem is no galo, Hashem shines on him, if not, then ain't no galo. We'll discuss maybe that has implications to the rules of the Taras Nadarim, like that. Then we talked about Makom Kavua, that person should have a Makom Kavua, that's a din lahalacha. Lahalacha, we said, there's a machlokes Rishonim if it's just a shul, or even a particular place in the shul, and we said that Shulchan Aruch says dafka a particular place in the shul. We resolved that if you have a different place for minyan for Shachar and Chamar, that would be considered kriyas, we presume. And we said also that Dal Ramos, anywhere within Dal Ramos is considered the same makom, so no need to chase people out of your spot. And if you do daven makom kavua, they say that Elokei Abraham, the Ezra, Hashem, like the Lord of Abraham, helps you when you die. They say where that chassid and anav go. We talked about the anava at some length. Then we talked about that a person should always, I guess when a person leaves the shul, he shouldn't take big steps or run fast out the shul. Rashi, big steps, run. And then we said, because it looks bad, and therefore we said you should in general, you could, Abaya said, well, not to go out, but he has to go in. Go to where? To the study hall, and therefore we said, to do a mitzvah, or halacha for a mitzvah, here's the issue there, you should run to do a mitzvah. Then Reb Zera said, I used to see those rabbis running on Shabbos, I thought they were Michal Shabbos, so I heard this, and now I run too. And then he goes on to say, he says, Reb Zera says, the schar you get for running to the Pirka, that's the Shabbos drasha, is that you ran, because you won't remember anyway, says Rashi. We answered other explanations. But that led us on to a list of 7 different things that the main schar is for. After the Pirka came the Kala, that was the big crowd, and after the Duchka for being pushed. And then we said, for going any Shmaisa, any halachic discussion, the schar is for the Svara. And then we said the Beit Tamya, which I said either the house of mourning or a morgue, it's Shtikusa, being quiet. Tanisa, the fast, is the giving stock afterwards. We discussed something like Tshuva and Ma'asim Tovim, why it focuses on the Ma'asim Tovim part. And then we had the 6th was the Hesped, when you're giving a eulogy at a funeral. The main thing is getting the emotions flowing. And finally, Behilule, at a wedding, the important thing is the words of encouragement to the bride and groom. And we discussed historical context over there. Fine. Then Rav Huna had another statement of Rav Huna, the 2nd of 6, which says if you daven outside of Beis Knesset, make sure you're facing essentially towards the shul, because if it always looks like you have you're praying to a different God. we had the story of maybe Eliyahu Navi or just a different person, maybe just an Arab. What didn't work out well for the guy who was called the Russia. He called the Russia if you go Saviv. It says, Saviv, Rishayim, Yisrael, the Rishayim go around the way, and that means around the shul. And then we start darting on the second part of that pasuk, the Krum Zlus pasuk, which is the end of that pasuk. We had an explanation of what the pasuk referring to, that they take something like tefillah high and make it lowly, or anything that's values and they cut corners that makes the whole system fall apart. Or maybe it means a different context altogether, that a creditor goes around the way to see his debtor, makes him feel bad, and the debtor feels terrible with Ne'adam, people's eyes turning colors like a krum. And generally it's like a trial of fire and water, in general, to be a debtor. Fine. Then part Gimel, we said you should be careful when to pray mincha, because Eliyahu Navi was only answered because of mincha. And we said maybe don't be careful, don't not be careful about Marv and Shafis also. And then we went on to say the importance of the Mismech Chasam Makala, another story over there, the 5 kolos, and if you do the Mismech, then you get 3 kinds of rewards. You're Zoch on the Torah, you're Zoch as if you brought a Toda, Korban Toda, and you're Zoch as if you're rebuilding the one Achas, in the Drasha Achas and the Jewish people, or just one of the Korvos for Yerushalayim, and that Drasha comes up a lot in weddings. Then yesterday we ended with the 5th statement, that a person is Yerushalayim, his words are heard. And we said, what's this? Zeh Kol Ha'adam, the end of that proof text. And we said either means that 3 possibilities. Either the guy who's a Yirei Hashem, he is the purpose of creation, and everything else is who cares. Or no, he's Shakul, connected to the rest of creation. Or a third possibility is, no, he's the primary player, but the rest of creation is significant, just as supporting to help him in 7. And finally today, the 6th and final member of Brachot Ramuna, we said that if someone says Shalom to you, if he's ragil to do it, you should say hello first, Shalom first, because this is Bak Shalom for Rabbi, we should be pursuing it. And if you don't, you're full of God's law. That was the thought. So here's my simon for it. You can take it or leave it. But anyways, so the simanim, I think it's good to make them simple and elegant, because they're supposed to be easy to remember, right? That's the point. But because there are so many issues here, this is my best effort to keep it short and sweet, yet incorporate many, many things happening. So here's my picture. The mental picture is you have, so the Daf Vav, the simon for all of them will be a stick. It looks like a stick. Right? So here's the picture. You have a stick being weighed by Rav Zera, who's running to behind a base Knesset to chase away the Mazikin who are trying to dig up Hashem's tefillin because they heard that's where Hashem is to be found. That's quite a sentence, I know, but that incorporates many, many Masugyas. I'll say it again. You have Rav Zera waving a stick, running to go behind the shul where you are Mazikin who are trying to dig up Hashem's tefillin because they heard that's where Hashem is to be found. Why that crazy convoluted sentence? Because you've got many themes. You have the Mazikin, which is the first part of the Vav, and that. You have where the Shekhinah is to be found by the shul, and 1, 2, 3, 10. You have Hashem wearing tefillin, those are Hashem's tefillin, so that's all Amud is there. Then you have the running to go to shul. You have davening behind the shul. You have different places with more talks of Hashem being found, and you have and you have the davening behind the shul. So that's and you have the running and the davening behind the shul. So those are as many themes like to squeeze into one reasonable sentence that didn't seem overly intricate. Rav Zera running with a stick, Rav Zera running behind the shul to chase away the Mazikin who are trying to dig up the Hashem tefillin because they heard that's where Hashem is to be found. And again, the whole theme I say is really about where Hashem is to be found. Okay, so good. I guess I'll take questions if you want, and then we'll move on to Dov Zion.
The end, he's talking about peace. Bake Shalom V'Rofeu. He's talking about to pursue peace, and that's like that you're giving somebody, you're telling somebody how you do, or Shalom Lechem. So that means you're making peace between others, and if you're not doing that, you're a Gazlan.
I think so again, it's a drasha. The pasha meaning of that pasuk over there is, as I understand it, is just saying, be a peace-loving person. Like, don't look for machlokas, look for peace, and and be prepared to chase after it. like a regular.
That's where you find Hashem.
Right. Okay. So that's the context over there. It's like something much more straightforward.
But here it's a little bit different than this.
We're looking at the word shalom as like a word also itself. It's like mevakesh shalom, like anticipate the shalom, like search out the shalom. And if you know it's coming to you, then don't just wait for it to come to you. But you should chase after it being first. That's what I understand the Josh.
But how come here it's a little bit different than Pirkei Avos, where it says there that you should always give the person.
So
shalom?
that's a good question, which I don't really have a good answer to. The best answer I have was what's clearly not addressing that. Maybe the answer has got to do with the seifa, like the guy who had the poor man had nothing else to give but his shalom, so don't steal him, or maybe something like I suggested that don't only see half-heartedly that there's a different. A person who always comes up to you and starts talking to you, how you doing, is actually someone you want to run away from sometimes, right? So, and the point of the Gemara is, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's terrible. The poor guy, if someone's being friendly to you, you should be proactive. Go say hello to him. Don't run away from him. That was just my answer.
What if it's before davening?
That's a good question. So that's a different. We actually will get to that halacha, but just so you should know, the halacha is that it's a little complicated.
That's to say.
So you're not supposed to say shalom before davening. Right. So the Gemara says you should say safra demara tava, which means like good morning, basically. Safra, morning, tomorrow. You're not supposed to initiate.
Not supposed to initiate,
right. We'll see. That's okay. We'll get to it.
But I guess you should respond.
In short, you can respond.
Over
The halacha l'maisa, if anyone on the street says to you good morning, you should respond and say good morning back.
You can tell people are sensitive to that. And they see you walking into the shul, they know you haven't davened yet.
Right.
And they say good morning.
Right. So good morning is fine, but shalom you should avoid. Okay, to then. We'll see it this way. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just add to that? One time I was very confused. I was, about to daven chakras. I was getting myself set up in shul, and the Rav. This was I don't know if this makes a difference or what, but it was a Hasidic shul, and the Rav comes over to me, and he holds out his hand and checks my hand and greets me, Shalom Aleichem. This was before chakras began, and I didn't know, I was confused.
So you're for sure like in the 100% green light clear. You say good morning. It's just the issue could be the issue of saying the word, the shame, the name, the word shalom.
Yeah.
Maybe he davened before. I don't know. I can't. Or maybe the halacha. Maybe this isn't even happening.
I don't know.
He knows you didn't know.
How many times it happened?
He
It
knows
happened to
I didn't
me
know, yeah.
that like you walk into like a base aval or on Tisha B'av and you say to someone, marry you, any green rolls no good. And you say good morning. And you're like,
I don't think
I don't mean that.
So I don't know.
Or maybe it's just I can't say. I can't say. Okay. Anyways, well, you know what? We will see. For all I know, they're poskim will say it's fine today or something. We'll get this, so I'll look it up.
Promote to the Rabbi, so we gotta say hello back.
Yeah, well,
Definitely respond back. His
This
question was, what's the Rav saying shalom before davening?
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
He said to me.
Daven days.
So, okay. So now we're on a new daf. It's a new story. It's a new thing here. Okay, daf zayin is like a really difficult shkafli. Like whatever. There's a lot of Kabbalistic stuff going on in daf zayin here. We'll do with what we can. It doesn't attempt to conceal itself and it doesn't attempt to explain itself. It just is what it is.
I'm not over 40, should I leave?
Sorry? No, this is the Gemara. You'll be like, what? We'll do our best. That's what it is.
Dafim on Brachot are much longer now.
Very long daf. Yeah, this is very long daf. But this daf happens that it's difficult. What I mean is it's like dealing with. Well, you'll see. Okay. So if I would summarize before I even start, the same way I said daf vav in the general sense dealing with like the place of Hashem, daf zayin largely deals with like the relationship of Hashem to the world. You'll see what I mean. But Hashem's mahakas, how Hashem relates to the world, that becomes a theme throughout. Okay, so here we go. Daf zayin at the top. Amr of Yochanan. So like, there's no. To be totally honest, I don't know any. If you don't look at it the way I'm suggesting, which already is like one of the limb, and saying, we started out with talking about say creation alamita, and then we talked about how that segued into Yisurin, which segued into Hashem, and then Hashem's place, Davav, and now Zayin, Hashem's relationship to the world. You don't look at it as that story. I don't actually know how else. Like, how does the article introduce this sentence? Because it's essentially non-secular.
It says the Gemara commences a series of statements transmitted by Rabbi Yochanan.
Right, which is a polite way of saying this is a non-secular. Right? It doesn't connect. It doesn't matter. But I'm just suggesting, once we've dealt with Hashem's place in the world, so to speak, now we're going to deal with how Hashem relates to the world from that place, the kilo, so to speak. That's just my, overlay here. In any case, I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yosef. Actually, a gear station there to see. Where's Ben Zimra? This is a okay, but fine. How do you know that Hashem prays? It may be, by the way, that the connection here is very prosaic and just structurally we had how do you know Hashem wears tefillin, how do you know Hashem prays? But that could be as pedestrian as that. But anyway, I'm seeing much. You'll see as the daf develops, I'm seeing much more, but fine. So how do you know that Hashem prays? Shneimar, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Minayin would probably be translated idiomatically as how do you know? But minayin actually technically means where. Because it's where in the pasuk do you see that?
From where.
That's where, right? Yeah, from where, exactly. Anyways, minayin shekadosh baruch hu mispalel, what's the source that we've seen that Hashem prays? Shneimar, because the pasuk says, V'yosim el har kachi, and I, Hashem, will bring them, the Jewish people, to my holy mountain. V'simachtim b'veis tefilasi, and I will gladden them in the house, beis tefilasi, in the house of my prayer. So if Hashem has a house of His prayer, then it implies that He has prayer. End quote. Tefillah. So I think what the Gemara's move here, is the Gemara says Tefillasam lo ne'amar. It doesn't say the house of their prayer. El tefillasi, the house of my prayer. Mikan shekadosh baruch hu mitpalel. You see from here that Hashem.
Why can't it be my prayer house?
So I think so. That's as you ask. That's exactly what the Gemara is coming to address. I think if if you're translating, Yeshaya, you get to Nun Vav, you just would say beis tefillasi. You'd say like the house, not the house of my prayer, but my prayer's house, something like that. But that's not really grammatically true.
Right.
But beis tefillasi means the house of my prayer.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm just speculating. The proof text stands on its own. So what does the Gemara then say? Tefillasam ne'amar tefillasi? Because if you read this pasuk 100 times, so now the 101st time you think it means my house of prayer. And it's saying, no, read carefully, it doesn't say that. It should have said then my house of their prayer. In fact, it says the house of my prayer, tells you that Hashem is doing the praying.
Maybe I'm going way off the limb here, but tipo means
Tipo.
Tefillah, the root, means coming down, means fall down.
Yeah, but the root of tefillah is probably palel, which
Palel.
is to judge, not tipo to come down.
It doesn't have the same connotation that, because when you judge, you're coming down. I mean, I'm just thinking that Hashem does come down in the, there. That's the place where He comes down.
I don't think you said the words here.
Okay.
Tefillah, tefillah is a funny word,
Yeah.
but it's probably from the word. I mean, we actually had. Remember back in Pinchas, exactly. Pinchas, we had that pasuk. We said, how do you know that Kovei Makom? We said that Ba'amad, how do you know Amida is tefillah? Because it says Amad v'yi palel, right? That's palel. Plila is like a judgment, something like that. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the etymology there. Fine.
Looking at the English, right? House of my prayer. The prayer is an object, not an action. If it said the house of my praying, that would indicate that he's praying.
Yeah.
So it could be the house of my prayer. To me. You're praying to me.
Well,
It's my prayer.
I guess that's why I understand that the Gemara is going as way to tell you that no, it means the house of my prayer, meaning my prayer. Exactly like that. That's grammatically sound. But if you actually read it carefully, it means the house of my prayer, not my house of prayer. In other words, the grammar supports it. It would be like Beisi, my house. Now you have a much more fundamental question, which is what in the heck is that supposed to mean? Hashem prays, to who is He praying? Is okay. Everyone decided to ask that question.
Yeah, and it goes against the mental picture we're supposed to have. We're not supposed to have a picture of a person.
Okay, that's a different. So that's a different question. For sure, it doesn't mean that. For sure, it doesn't mean.
Right.
like, I don't know what
Well,
you.
isn't that what you think of when you, what do you think of?
I guess when they could have, I'm thinking about it. But, yeah.
The way I see it is, those tefillah means, those tefillahs which you're praying to me are mine. They are mine.
Okay, but the Gemara is going out of its way to
I'm the recipient of those, you know. They're mine. So that's
okay, but the Gemara is clearly saying that Hashem doing the praying. Like the question was, given Hashem praise, how do you see it in the pasuk? You see it because it says the house of my prayer. It says the house of their prayer, the house of my prayer. So the Gemara is clearly saying whatever this means, but it's clearly saying Hashem is doing the praying.
Yeah.
Now, then the question would be, like, if you define prayer as, I don't know, speaking to God, it's like, what's it doing? Or requesting things like, or trying to, whatever it is, like, why would Hashem pray? What would it need to pray? Like, Hashem is nothing. Hashem's Ratzon and Him are the same thing. Like, what was going on? So, therefore, there are two basic approaches. First of all, I don't know, basic. There are many, like, everyone asks the question. It's like, every single person asks the question, essentially. And the two, as far as I can tell, two basic approaches. The first is that, like, oh, come on, Hashem doesn't really pray. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that, like, this is teaching people how they ought to be praying. So that's one approach, right? Because the whole thing doesn't make sense otherwise. The other approach is quite, like, more literal. That Hashem does pray. And you'll see He actually has a prayer in a minute. And that prayer, which would be also, I guess, instructive of, like, how we would pray. But the point is that Hashem is involved in the nature. Like, if you said prayer is lehit halel. So if halel is to judge, lehit halel means like self-judging, which is what perhaps prayer is meant to be, at least in part. So what's that mean? That means, like, much of prayer is like you were conflicted as a human being that has the Yitzhak, and like you're praying to Hashem, I don't know what it is, to give you strength to overcome, or to give you guidance what's the right thing to do, or give you clarity. Like, so you're in conflict in prayer, like that's what it is, right? Shlach Yahavka, like put your burden on Hashem and pray to Him because you're in conflict, which is a lot of what people pray out of this internal turmoil. And somehow, Ki'ilu Hashem has a conflict too, an internal conflict. The exact nature of that conflict, maybe perhaps it's not clear, but more will be borne out by the Gemara. But one understanding of, so let's hold that thought. Either it means Hashem really is praying because He has sort of issue that He has to pray about, whatever that means, as strange as that sounds, or no, it's just instructive how we ought to be praying. Let's read the next. Yes, we'll leave the next word to the Gemara. That's why I was. The Gemara says, "My matzli." This is just indicates more, gives us more to work with. So the Gemara asks, okay, but Hashem is praying, like one in the world, like what's His prayer? So, Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia Amar Rav. This is quote. This is Hashem's prayer. Yiraton milfanai. Usually here's a milfanecha, maybe your will, but here it's like let it be my will. Sheyichbashu rachamai al kas rachamai al kaasi. I guess I don't know. Yeah. Let my mercy over my anger. V'yagulu rachamai al midosai, and let my mercy, my midah of mercy overwhelm, like be predominant over my other midos. Ve'esnaheg im banai b'midas harachamim, and let me conduct, deal with my children with the midah of rachamim, of mercy. Ve'kanas lahem lefnei mishura sadin, and like bring them in beyond the letter of the law. Something like that. Yeah. End quote. That is His prayer. So again, this either would mean like that it's Hashem. It's really not Hashem's not praying at all. It's telling you what Hashem wants most, so to speak. It's for you to grow up and do tshuva, be good, so He doesn't have to do bad things. They'll teach you that kind of lesson. That's how many kind of approach it. Another approach would be that Taka Hashem is conflicted out because He wants a world that's just and emes, because that has its own virtues. On the other hand, He wants to be merciful. Mercy means what's mercy? Mercy means you don't deserve what you get anyways. Sometimes He wants to be merciful and not come down to harming people because they're His children. So He's conflicted. I saw the Ben Yoyada's testimony, which I really like, which is in other contexts you talk about. We've actually asked the question earlier on about the difference between Hashem. If Hashem knows what's going to happen, then that could be a b'chira. So one of the implications of that question, forces you to say that Hashem doesn't do insider trading. Even though He knows what you're going to do, He treats you Vasher Hashem like how you are now. Those would never get off the ground. You have to essentially say that Hashem doesn't look at what you'll do tomorrow. He looks at where you are now, and then He deals with you. He doesn't punish you before you've done the crime. However, I don't want to get into that paradox, but that you have to say. That much you have to say. And it's explicit, like in Rosh Hashanah, that Hashem judges us based on what we're holding now, not like that's by Yishmael, not what He'll do later on. So, Rabbi Yoda suggests that's the I'm seeing a lot of, and he says very few words, but I'm seeing a lot there. That's the conflict Hashem is in. In other words, that Hashem is well aware that seeing the whole picture and where a person is right now comes up to two very different calculuses in terms of how to deal with this person. But so Hashem says, despite the fact that I'm aware that it's going to go bad down the way, for now, let me, so to speak, ignore that. He's conflicted out, Hashem knows, and sort of, I don't know what it's play dumb or not do insider trading or what you call it, and overlook that so I can now be merciful and give the guy time and truth. I understand that enters the big paradox of Yedid L'chira. Without getting to that paradox, there's a conflict there. Hashem's there's two people happening simultaneously, if you will. There's me as what I am now, and there's me of what Hashem knows I'm going to be, and that makes them in conflict. That's a conflict, and Hashem, so to speak, has to, so to speak, deal with that conflict. I can't say more than that. But anyway, that of course still be instructive to us in terms of their being overcoming these internal conflicts. Something like that. So there's those two basic approaches in the many, many, many approaches of unfortunate. Some take it much more literally, some say it much more, say it's inconceivable, chas v'chalila, Hashem to pray, say such a thing, and it means purely this is just saying people should, Hashem wants you to, not to punish you, so do tshuva, like there's an extreme to extreme. I saw something very nice, by the way, taking on some more face value, the 6b-7a chachamim. So he just points out, it's very repetitive. Hashem keeps saying, look at the tefillah again, it's just saying again and again and again, let me be merciful, merciful, merciful. So, my matzli, so he said, quote, it's Yiratum al-Farai, Sheyichbashu Rachma al-Kasi. First of all, my Racham should overwhelm my anger. And second of all, Yigulum Rachamai al-Midosai Vesnag in Banai B'midas Rachmim. Second of all, let my prominence Mida be mercy, so I can deal mercifully with them. And then finally, Vekanes Lam Lifnim Mishur Sadin, and let me be merciful and bring them in beyond the letter of law. So the 6b-7a chachamim divides it into three different categories, and he suggests that we're dealing with three categories of people, the famous three categories of people that when they're getting judged, like the books in Rosh Hashanah. But there's the Rishayim, there's the Dedim, and the Tzaddikim. So Hashem is, to the Rishayim, Hashem is angry, and therefore he says, let my mercy overcome my anger at these people. The Beinonim, who are in the middle, he says, let me be just overall generally merciful. Yigilim Brachman Midosa, let the primary be that they deal with the Beinonim be mercy. Vesnag im Banai B'midas Rachamim. They should just, get more than they deserve because they're Beinonim. And as for the Tzaddikim, even they, Ekaras Lem Lifnim Mishur Sadin, a tzaddik did the right thing, but I won't even give them even more mercy in that, as if they went above and beyond letting the law. I thought it was quite nice. But Yoda has his own, he divided the four categories and the different categories of sin. Everyone's going to tear this thing apart. Tease it apart, I should say. In any case, that's that. It only gets stranger. Look, the sugya continues on, it's not done. Tanya, it says in a braysa.
Tanya!
I'm Rabbi Shmuel, thank you. Ben Elisha. Pamachas nechnas lahaktir ketoras lefnai ulufnim. One time, this Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha was one of the Sarah Harugi Malchus. He was one of the 10 guys that were killed. He was the Kohen Gadol. He went in one time to the Kaddish Kadashim on Yom Kippur. Remember we discussed this in Kalim yesterday. That's only one time a year can the Kaddish Kadashim be entered 4 times on that one day of Yom Kippur. The first 4 times is to bring in the Ketoras to offer. So that's what's happening over here. So he went into the Ketoras. Dafke inside as opposed to Tztukim doing it outside, fine. And V'ra'isi, he saw something unusual. Now, what he saw were these words, or described by these words. Akatriel ka Hashem tzvakos. That's what he saw. According to most people, this means he saw Hashem. Okay? The Chassam Sofer understands that it's actually talking about seeing a malach, that he saw the malach called Akatriel, who was the malach of Ka Hashem Tzavakos. But probably not true. Not that I'm taking sides against the Chazal Sofer, but there's strong reason to believe it wouldn't be a malach. First of all, most people won't say it is. And second of all, there's a Gemara, there's a Yerushalmi actually, but it's well known. Remember we discussed also yesterday in Caleb how when the Torah is being burned, you can't be in the region Bein Ul and Mizbeach. So there's a din that, based on a drasha, that no one could be inside when the smoke is going and the incense, and the drasha is not even angels. So if that's true, then not angels, then there's no, what is it, kasher, the angel, this is
No
doing
other
here.
than the Kohen Gadol.
Yes, exactly right. So that being the case, l'chora, it's probably not an angel. These are shemos of Hashem. We don't usually talk about shemos of Hashem outside of Kabbalistic text, which is why I told you this is Kabbalistic in nature. But in any case, this seems to be a very fancy name of Hashem. That the first part here is get on take a far field. But the Keter is like the first the 10 spheros, and it's referring to that part of Hashem, whatever that's referring to, and all the four is a reference to Ein Sof. Above that, all like beyond our discussion here today. But in any case, some very high revelation of Hashemness. Could also be, it is, and there are others focusing on the notion of Ka and Tzvakot as being kind of one coming from the right side, one coming from the left side, and Hashem is in the middle, mediating, because Hashem wants to mediate between his mercy and his din. A lot of stuff here, but it's all like beyond us for sure. In any case, let's just read it as I saw some manifestation of Hashem. Okay, again, all the forces we got, he didn't see with his eyes, he wanted to see. Whatever, I don't know what he did see. Some say he saw a bright light, some say it was all a mental, beholding of it. I wasn't there. But anyways, he was well aware that Hashem was there, and some manifestation of Hashemness was there in a very sublime way. And he was Shu Yoshev al Kisei Ram Manisa, he was sitting on his high throne, whatever that means, in Kabbalistic significance. V'amarli, and Hashem said to me, Yishmael b'ni barcheni, my son Yishmael, give me a bracha. Martilo, so I said to him, and I will echo the bracha that Hashem's prayer, so to speak, Yiratom l'fanecha, maybe your will, she'ich b'shu rachamecha al ka'ascha, that your rachim should be kovesh, now subdue your anger, v'yagilu rachamecha al ninosecha, that you should be overwhelmingly merciful in terms of your raga, v'tisnaheg im banecha b'midas rachamim, and you should treat your children with mercy, v'tikansam lahem l'fnei mishuras havim, and you should bring them in beyond the letter of the law. I didn't really explain l'fnei mishuras havim too much, but let's stick with that. And v'na'nea li roshi, and he nodded his head approvingly. By the way, you heard me. Period. End of brisa. A wild brisa. And the Kamash Malan, we learned from this. This is also another Shas classic. Should be triple underline in my morning, I didn't. Shalote birchas hediot kala beinecha. The blessing you get from a hediot, a regular person, shouldn't be light in your eyes. It's a famous Gemara. The word hediot has the same etymological root as the modern English word idiot, but it's not meaning that. Meaning, hediot means as opposed to special, like regular. So in other words, you can have the Kohen Gadol, and relative to him, the other Kohen are called Kohen Hediot. They're called just regular Kohen. So here also, Hediot, which is not really such a polite term, but it means, and you shouldn't call a Jew a Hediot because they're special, but in the context of, Hashem wants blessing, so certainly that the human being is a Hediot relative to him. And therefore it's saying, even a simple person or a simpleton or whatever, a regular person, if he gives you blessing, you shouldn't take it lightly, because Rabbi Yishmael himself was able to even Mavarach Hashem. Yeah.
Where does the brisa end? Does it end with B'nei Mishuras Adin, or
I think Barosho.
Barosho, okay.
Barosho, that's why I'm marking my mark. Yeah, that's that. I will tell you one last thing, as if you remember. So we saw the word na'anea, to nod one's head. One other time, reading the Gemara. Do you remember where? Hashem was Na'anea's head. And I was Magamgim over there a little bit. And then we saw it when Hashem shakes it, and they said, Ashrei HaMelech Shemakazal Mubeito Oilo La'av Ma yesh la'av what does the father have? Go exile his children, they was olam. That was on Daf. That was on Daf Gimel. When the Hashem was Menanea Kayona, sorry, was a Menahemis Kayona. So then Eliyahu Navi said, not now, but every time Hashem says this, so Hashem shakes, when people say Amen Yehesh Me'Rabba, or whatever they hear, so there was Yehesh Me'Gadol, Hashem is Menanea Rosho, he shakes his head. So most unfortunate over there, this is what I'm getting to, translate Menanea over there as being Hashem like shakes his head like what a shame, tisk tisk, that I don't have them now. Like disapproving shake of the head. Here Nanea means approving shake of the head, which is a little strange, and therefore I said over there, some even understand that Nanea positively over there also, because otherwise Nanea means two different things. And I'll, with the final PS, I'll let you know, the head shaking, which is quite universally, this meaning yes, and this meaning no, it's actually not as universal as you think. In Bulgaria, this means yes, and this means no. So, have a good day.
Sadly true.
Oh, they're probably right on the right too.
Sure, that's not just in that movie or something?
No, I've been there, and it's
really?
it's maddening. It's really it's crazy.
Oh.
Even though that's what it is.
But yeah, you can't.
Even though that's around.